We've discussed why this moment matters, and we've also now spent time casting vision for our strategy. In this video, we want to lay the biblical foundations for what we're doing in our yellow card strategy. The one thing we'd want you to take away from this video is that God created humanity and he saves us to accomplish a mission. Like who we are and what we're called to do are integrally connected. So God created us and God saves us to spread his glory to all people. We see that throughout Scripture. We see that in the beginning of Scripture in Genesis 1 and 2, where we learn who we are as God's people is we are made in God's image. And in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28, that identity as God's image is connected to our vocation, namely to be fruitful and to multiply and to fill the earth. So in the very beginning chapters of Scripture, when God created the world, when he designed the world, and when he designed us, who we are as God's people, his image, is connected to our job to spread his glory to all people. After the fall, we see that this remains the same, so that when God calls Abraham, he says, "You will be my people." And that call and identity is connected to his job to be a blessing. The nation of Israel is the exact same thing. We learn in Exodus 19 that after God saves his people from slavery in Egypt and brings them to Mount Sinai, before the 10 Commandments are given, we learn about their identity. They're going to be God's treasured possession. God owns the entire earth, but Israel is going to be his treasured possession. And then we learn that they're to be a kingdom of priests. They're to be a royal priesthood. And what does it mean to be a priest? It means that you are a person who introduces the world to God. So when we think about a holy God and a sinful people, priests in the Old Testament were the people who mediated God's blessings to sinful people. So we see this in creation, see it with the call of Abraham, we see it with the election of Israel, and we also see it with the construction of the temple. When Solomon is dedicating the temple in 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 60, he prays that God would keep his people pure and faithful. And then he gives the reason why. And the reason why in verse 60 is so that the nations might know that the Lord is the true and living God. We see this also in Psalm 67, a famous missional passage where the author is reflecting on the priestly blessing of Numbers chapter 6. And he says in verses 1 through 2, he says, may you be gracious to us and bless us, and may your face shine upon us. And then we get a break in verse 1 with the word Selah. And then verse 2 says, that your way may be known on earth. So we're seeing in Psalm 67 a meditation on what it means for God's people to be priests, is that the prayer is that God would bless us so that the nations might know. So we see throughout the Old Testament in these passages and in many others as well, that God created his people, saved his people, elected his people, dwells with his people so that the nations might know. And of course, that sounds an awful lot like the Great Commission, right? At the end of Jesus' ministry before he ascends into heaven, he gives us a mission, which is to make disciples. And he doesn't just end there, but he says to make disciples of all nations. Peter in 1 Peter chapter 2, when he's reflecting on these realities, he says something like, we are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a people for his own possession. He's talking about our identity as God's people. And then he links it to our purpose, that we might proclaim. You see, throughout Scripture, God creates us, saves us, elects us, dwells with us, so that we could be a blessing, so that we could proclaim God's glory to all people. And then we see this climactic vision in Revelation 7, where we see this movement from garden to garden city, creation to new creation. And what's happening in new creation is just the fulfillment of God's creational mandate. We see people from every tribe, tongue, and language surrounding the throne room of God and praising God for what he has done. He has saved us, he's defeated our sin, and he has done what we can never do. So when we look at the foundation in Scripture about who we are and what we're called to do, we learn that we are called to spread the glory of God to all people. And we just want you to understand that this moment, this World Cup that God in his sovereignty is bringing to North America, like God is doing this so that we might leverage it to spread his glory. Guys, this is what you were created to do. This is what you were saved to do. God dwells with you to do this, to spread his glory. And we want you to realize that and remember that as we progress through these videos and as we seek to accomplish this mission.